Happy Pride, everyone! Hello, and welcome to a new video. My name is Priti, and I like to read books, and I like to read books from different sort of communities. In particular, I like to read books from the LGBTQIA plus community because I think that they just have great literature. Okay, it's just amazing what they do. So yeah, in this video, I'm going to be recommending to you 12 books that I have really loved. And what I'm going to do is I am going to also link you to a previous video that I have done, but when my channel was still like a baby and I was filming on my phone, so the quality of it may not be so great, and also it was from almost 3 years ago. So keep that all in mind. I have some great recommendations there, but I have some great recommendations for you today as well. And they basically follow 4 different categories. So I'm going to put the timestamps down below in case you want to jump over and go to your favorite genre. But I would recommend that you listen to all of them because I think that they're all pretty great. But essentially the genres are lit fic, like literary fiction, then is fantasy and weird. That is how I've categorized it. Then is graphic novel and manga, and then is non-fiction. So those are the 4 categories that I have for now. Obviously, I have a lot of other videos coming up where I will introduce you to more books of this cross section of society. But anyway, point is I will put up a bunch of other videos as well, so in case you wanna check that out, please do subscribe because that will be fun. Anywho, let's get on with the recommendations. Yes. The first group of books are within the lit fic genre, and the first book of this that I want to talk to you about is The Prettiest Star by Carter Sickles. This is basically a book about a young boy during the AIDS crisis, and by young I mean in his early 20s. He has come back home in somewhere in the Appalachian. I'm not sure where exactly, but he's come home. His parents do not approve of him being gay, but he is clearly sick, and we see this from his perspective, his mother's perspective, as well as his younger sister's perspective. So basically these 3 different perspectives tell us the story of this boy and what all he's going through, but overall you just get the story of how people in general were behaving with people during the AIDS crisis, as well as how people who were dealing with it personally were dealing with it, as well as people just coming to terms with their sexuality, as well as the people who love them and them coming to terms with their loved one's sexuality and what that sort of is like. I thought that this book was just beautifully written, amazing writing, and the characters have still stuck with me. I in particular really loved this grandmother, and just generally I loved the way that story was told, and it's just a really moving, beautiful story that I think more people need to read. Carter Sickles is a trans man as well, and is from the Appalachian, so he has taken a lot of stories that he has sort of seen, and he's done a lot of research as well. So yeah, I would just highly suggest this book, and I really want to shove it down everyone else's throat. So yeah, that is The Prettiest Star by Carter Sickles. The second book that I want to talk to you about is Chats with the Dead by Shehan Karunatilaka, or as most people sort of know about it, is The 7 Moons of Mali Almeida. This book won the Booker Prize in 2022. So yeah, it's quite famous, but I absolutely love the book. Essentially, we are following a queer photojournalist who has found himself to be dead, and he wakes up in this sort of afterlife of sorts, which is sort of this in-between sort of thing, where he is told he has essentially 7 days to get stuff in place, and during this time essentially he wants his lover and his best friend to find these cache of photographs, which will change the way the government will look at things, because this is based in Sri Lanka during the civil war, where there was a lot of unrest, there were a lot of people killing people, etc. So we basically follow Mali going through all of this, and it's just so well done. I have an entire video like which is 20 minutes long reviewing this book and telling you all the things that I loved about this book and all the things that I didn't like about this book. But honestly, didn't like was not much because I gave this book a 5-star. This book is absolutely amazing. Shehan himself is not queer, but the person who he has based this on is a person named Richard DeZoiza, who was a queer photojournalist or a queer journalist slash actor in Sri Lanka, and very similar things happened to him. And yeah, I think that he is a great ally. I have spoken to him a couple of times, and like he's just really awesome. And I would highly recommend this book because yeah, it's great. The third and last book in the lit fic category is Pet by Akweke Emezi. This is a book which is a young adult book which follows this kid named Jam, who is a trans girl, and essentially she is living in this world where there are no monsters or no bad people, but slowly she realizes that the monster may be real because she brings one of her mom's paintings to life, and then that painting sort of like is helping her understand that the monsters are not actually gone. And this is a great book that I would highly recommend to adults as well as them reading it and then giving it to younger kids who will be able to read this book. So like I would say like 13 or 14 and up, because it really like gives you the language to explain stuff that they are going through, and just like it's so well done in terms of like just everything. It's really simple. I read it in a day. I immediately gave it to my mom and she read it in a day, and like both of us absolutely loved it. I think that Akweke has such a wonderful command over a language, and to be able to make these like really tough topics coming to light but in a way that is super digestible for kids as well as like makes the adults think about it is just amazing. Akweke themselves are non-binary and trans, I think, but like they're amazing. They have like amazing literature that they come out with all over different sort of genres. So like they are definitely a person that I would also urge you to check out apart from Pet. The next category is weird and fantasies, fantasy and weird. And for this, the first recommendation that I have for you is actually a series of books, which is the Wayward Children series. And this is by Shauna Maguire. And essentially, these are all novellas following different children who have somehow escaped through these doors that lead them to another world. And either we follow them in another world or in the current day when they are in the school, where they are sort of like recuperating and trying to figure out how to get back to that world and like other sort of places. And I absolutely love this series. I actually did an entire vlog where I tried to read the series in a day, in 24 hours, which was sort of nuts, but like I love this series. I thought that it is so good in terms of trying to show you different sort of people. So you have like so many different kinds of like characters and like different sort of sexualities within this book itself. So I would highly recommend this series. My favorite of this series is this book with Lundy, which is a character, but like I also love the books with the twins. I'm forgetting their names. Jack and Jill, I think. Yeah, Jack and Jill. But yeah, I think that the series was absolutely amazing, and Shauna Maguire herself is bi. So yeah, that is a series that I would definitely ask you to check out because it's short but also beautiful. And now we're getting into the weird. I mean, the previous one is also weird, but the second one that I want to recommend to you is Several People Are Typing by Calvin Kalsuke. And why this is weird is because this book is completely written in a Slack format. So if you know what Slack is, if you don't, well, it's fine. Essentially, it's like this messaging portal for you at work. So you can either have like a group where you like have people in that group and like you message about certain things, or you can like individually like chat with someone, and it's all just chats. There's no like in paragraphs or anything like that. It's all in chats. And through this story we essentially are following like this PR marketing agency of sorts, where this one person who works there has accidentally uploaded their conscience onto Slack. uh you get the weird now? Yeah. So they have uploaded their conscience onto Slack, and are now trying to figure out what to do. But we, apart from this person, we also follow other people in the company and all the things that are happening. And it is just like there are parts of this book where I'm like, bro, this is way too real, because I work in marketing, and like the conversations that people have, I'm like, I've had those exact same conversations. And yeah, it's a queer book by a trans man, and it is beautiful and just like so weird, but I was absolutely enjoying the ride. So yeah, I would recommend Several People Are Typing by Calvin Kalsuke. Another novella series that I have really loved is the Monk and the Robot series by Becky Chambers. And this series is just I don't know, amazing. So I loved the first book, which is A Psalm for the Wild Built, and the next one, which is A Prayer for the Crown Shy, is also great. But essentially we are in a world where like robots, and like, yeah, robots essentially have gained, like, what's it called, like they've become sentient, is that what the word is? And they basically don't attack us but say, hey, we're leaving, peace out. So the humans are like, yeah, okay, you go. So they go off to the wild, and in the current day the humans and the robots have not met in over 100 years. So basically we follow this tea monk who is sort of like dissatisfied with their lives, and they are going on this journey to become like a tea monk, and go from place to place, but they end up adventuring into the wild, which is where they meet this robot, and then they sort of go on this journey to try to figure out the meaning of life and a bunch of other things. And yes, it has a bunch of cheesy stuff and all of that sort of stuff, but sometimes you need to listen to the cheesy stuff, okay? Sometimes I think that like you need that cheese in your life, and like you need that thing like a spread all over you to just be like, ah, yes, I needed to hear this, you know. And I think that the first book, which is The Psalm of the Wild Built, was definitely a sort of book that I needed. The second book, I feel like, is sort of like a book that is sort of like the middle book, where it sets up premise for what will happen in the next few books. But it was still great. But I didn't love it as much as the first one. But yeah, in general, loved it, and would highly recommend this as well. Last book that I want to recommend to you in the weird fantasy science fiction sort of genre is are again two books, but they are part of like a series again, which are Finna and Defect by Nino Cipri, and they are again a trans non-binary queer author, and these two books are so weird. So again, they're like sort of novellas, and in the first one we are following these people who work in like an IKEA. So both of them are in like a like a organization that's sort of like an IKEA, so like a huge furniture store. And like in the first one, there are these portals that randomly go into like different worlds, and like the characters sort of like get into those portals, and they have to like sort of figure it out. And in the second one, it's basically like this guy is supposedly like a defect, and I don't know, there are various like things about it, and like he is then called to be a I can't really talk about it because it's really short, and like, but just know that it's really weird, but it also like critiques capitalism and like the workforce and generally like corporate world. I won't say corporate America, but like corporate world in general, and how they make you like work your ass off, but also like it's just really funny and weird, and like such a good critique on all of these things combined in like a really short few pages. and I absolutely thought that it was amazing. I was like, oh my god, this person's a genius. So yeah, that's the final one for the fantasy sci-fi weird genre. Well, next we have graphic novels, and for graphic novels, I have I have two recommendations, but the first recommendation is very obvious. Everyone knows about this series, and that is the Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman. Alice Oseman herself is asexual, if I'm not mistaken, and she has written this very, very cute graphic novel series, which is now made into a popular Netflix series, which I haven't watched yet because I don't like watching things or reading things that I think will give me joy, because I don't want to get disappointed, because I am a weirdo. But now I've promised myself that I will watch it. But anyway, so this series basically follows Nick and Charlie, who are both in school. um Charlie has come out to his parents and they know that he is gay, and Nick is trying to like figure it out. So initially in the first thing where they meet, they start like talking to each other. They come from very like different stratas of high school, but then friendship grows, and then maybe something else, and like we follow their story as well as other characters in this book, and like it is just beautiful. And like I love all the characters. They're all like very queer and very diverse, and just like they have these conversations that are like super light and fluffy, but also stuff which is like super serious. And it's just like a great combination of all of these sort of things, and it's just heartwarming. So yeah, that is what I will recommend to you. But the second graphic novel series is actually a manga, and that is called My Husband's Brother by Gengoro Tagami, and I don't know who the translator is, but if there is a translator, which I'm pretty sure there is, I will put their name like here somewhere for you to know, because you should always reference your translators. But anyway, this is basically following this man named Mike Flanagan, who comes to Japan because his husband, who has just passed, his family lives in Japan, and he comes to meet his like brother-in-law and like his daughter, and essentially what we find out is that they weren't very accepting of this person, like his husband and his relationship. So like he never came back to visit them, but I think this brother was like his twin, and like they missed out on each other's life. So it's basically a story of how like this guy, I'm forgetting the protagonist's name, like the brother, how he um gets to understand Mike Flanagan and sort of comes to terms with not only grief but also coming to terms with who his brother was and what that was like, etc. And it's really heartwarming. He has this daughter who's really young, and I think her name's Kana, and like she's really sweet, and like you see like this innocence aspect of it as well, and it's just really nice and heartwarming, but also like hits you like deep in, because it talks about like grief and losing a person and all of that as well. So yeah, it's intense, but it is lovely. So now for the non-fiction bit, we have three books, and the first one that I want to recommend to you is A Small Step in a Long Journey by Akai Padmashali. And Akai is basically a trans activist from India, and she talks about her journey just going through the whole gamut of things and like the trauma that they face, but also it gives you a lot of information on just like the culture of being like hijra in this like society in India, and what they sort of go through, but also like not just the pain but also like the joys and everything, and like their first love and just a bunch of other things. But like it really informs you on what all has been happening, including like legislature and like working with organizations and what has been happening and all of that sort of stuff. And it is written just really, really well, and I loved the voice of Akai in this book, and I would highly recommend it because I think that like it's a book that like people should read, but however, know that there is a lot of trigger warnings in this, because like Akai doesn't hold back. Okay, like she doesn't hold back. There is a lot of traumatic things, including like sexual assault, rape, a bunch of things that are happening, like sex work, etc. So just keep that in mind before you get into it. So if there's anything that will harm you, yes, but in general, apart from that, great, amazing, but like really rough, really rough. Okay, so keep that in mind, but like overall great book. That's all. Second book, which is also the second last book of this video recommendation thingy, is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a subtler version of like Akai's, because basically Carmen talks about an abusive relationship that she had with her partner when she was like in college and like stuff like that, and her partner was horrific, but in terms of like in a quiet sort of way, which just infuriated me, because like I know what that's like. But yeah, basically Carmen is a beautiful writer who has written this memoir in a very interesting way. So with each chapter we get dream house as a different sort of thing, and like for example, if it's dream house as a horror movie, then it's sort of like shown you as like a horror movie, or dream house as a something else, and it's sort of shown. So it's very interestingly written. So I would recommend it, not only for like you to find out more about this person, but also in terms of like the form itself. It's just very well done. And yeah, this book was just amazing, but also like, oh, it really like made me think a lot about my past, which wasn't great, but I still really appreciated it and all that it was trying to say. And yeah, this book is great and it is loved by many, so it is not just me who's giving this recommendation. And the last book is the shortest and just most amazing book, and that is Beyond the Gender Binary by Alok Ved Menon. Alok is a non-binary trans feminine person who has now started getting into comedy, but is also like a spoken word artist and is just like brilliant. If you've not heard of them, like please hear them speak. It's just amazing. But essentially they write about their experiences of being like trans feminine, but also like non-binary, and not wanting to get into like this gender sort of thing, because like it's very fluid for them. And also like in the second part has a bunch of like questions that a person may have about like being queer or being non-binary and what that might be like, and then answers for that. So it's just like I found it so brilliant, because like there were a lot of things that maybe I had questions about, or if you are an ally and are trying to explain it to someone else, right? Because like this conversation has been happening a lot more, and I've seen myself having my conversations with my friends trying to explain it to them, but you don't have the correct words. Then reading this book really like helps you form those right words, you know. So it's a great book to have in general if you're trying to understand what that is like, but also in general if you are trying to explain it to someone else as well. Yeah, those are all the 12 books that I have to recommend for you today. As I have said, I am going to be doing a lot more videos in the future, but also the very near future. So if you have any other recommendations that for queer books, down in the comments, please put them down there. And if you have reached here, give me like a rainbow or a blue, purple and pink heart. Those are the 3 colors that I like. But yeah, that is all for now. I will see you in my next video, and I love you all. Hope you're doing super duper well, and goodbye. I never know how to end these videos.